McLaren's entire 2026 season might already be in danger, and the public wasn't supposed to see this. FIA internal files have just leaked, and what they reveal could destroy the progress McLaren spent 2 years building. Hybrid system failures, energy deployment chaos, and thermal instability, it's all there, and it's bad. Why did the FIA try to keep this under wraps? Why are rival teams suddenly adjusting their launch timelines? And how deep does the problem go inside Woking's walls? We've got the real answers. If you want the truth behind Formula One's biggest secrets before they hit the headlines, make sure you subscribe now. Because what you're about to hear changes everything for 2026. The leak came quietly. No press conference. No FIA statement. Just a document circulated between a few team principals, engine suppliers, and technical directors that suddenly made its way to the wrong inbox. What it contained wasn't just technical data. It was a diagnostic breakdown of hybrid energy systems, thermal models, and predictive degradation rates under the 2026 regulations. And right there, in the third annex of the report, sat a disturbing set of data points tied directly to McLaren's power unit concept. The report identified an issue that McLaren had been internally aware of but had not disclosed publicly: a major instability in their energy deployment strategy, especially under high-load corner exits and full-throttle straights. In simple terms, the hybrid unit was losing efficiency when the car needed it most. The FIA flagged this as a Category 2 concern, meaning it wasn't illegal, but it was a structural flaw that could severely limit performance consistency over race distances. For a team hoping to fight for championships in 2026, that classification is devastating. This weakness appears to stem from how McLaren chose to balance their energy harvesting and deployment under the new Active Aero framework. With drag reduction and battery deployment needing to work in harmony, McLaren went for a more aggressive aero strategy, but at the cost of thermal headroom. According to the leaked data, their cooling channels were insufficient to maintain battery integrity at full output, especially on high-speed circuits like Monza and Jeddah. Compounding the problem was how far along they were in development when the leak happened. Unlike Ferrari and Red Bull, who staggered their 2026 car concepts to allow for mid-phase corrections, McLaren had already committed resources to chassis matching their power unit. That means any changes now could require a costly redesign of airflow systems, packaging around the battery, and structural changes to the rear end, a logistical nightmare when time is already against them. And while the documents were not meant for the public, paddock insiders are already whispering. Teams talk. Engineers move between operations. The technical community is small, and trust is rare. When this kind of leak happens, it doesn't just expose data, it exposes weakness. And rivals like Mercedes and Aston Martin, who may have been a step behind in January, are suddenly recalibrating their development with McLaren's vulnerability in mind. This isn't just about data anymore. It's about perception, pressure, and lost momentum. Perhaps most worrying for McLaren is that this flaw isn't the kind of thing you can mask with setup changes or driver adaptation. It's embedded in the DNA of the 2026 car. If the leak is accurate and all signs point to it being legitimate, McLaren faces a brutal decision: commit to fixes now and delay production milestones, or stay the course and risk falling behind from race 1. Neither option is ideal. Both carry massive risk. This leak has shifted the tone across the sport. What was once viewed as a McLaren resurgence story, a team finally returning to its championship roots, is now a narrative clouded by uncertainty. Sponsors are asking questions. Drivers are watching carefully. And the rest of the grid? They're quietly accelerating, sensing that 2026 might be their best chance to strike before McLaren figures out how to respond. When the leaked FIA findings hit internal channels at McLaren, it wasn't received as a technical oversight, it was treated as a full-blown crisis. The leadership team, including CEO Zak Brown and team principal Andrea Stella, immediately convened emergency meetings across the performance, aerodynamics, and hybrid departments. According to sources close to Woking, this wasn't damage control. It was contingency planning. The leak didn't just reveal a flaw, it revealed that other teams now knew about it too. Zak Brown, known for his commercial focus and long-term vision, was reportedly furious not just about the flaw, but about how far it had progressed before red flags were raised. Brown had staked a large part of McLaren's public image on 2026 being a turning point. Internally, there were already talks with key sponsors about extended partnerships. Now, instead of showing dominance, they were in scramble mode. And for a team trying to attract long-term investment and keep their young driver lineup motivated, this kind of hit could not have come at a worse time. Technical Director Peter Prodromou, who has overseen aero development since the early stages of the 2026 project, was immediately tasked with reassessing thermal integration models. One of the most contentious internal debates stemmed from the team's aggressive rear-end packaging meant to boost downforce flow while minimizing drag. But that design left limited space for cooling structures around the hybrid battery and motor generator units. Engineers inside McLaren's Technology Center had flagged cooling strain as early as late 2024, but those concerns were deprioritized in pursuit of maximum aero gains. What's become clear is that McLaren took a gamble: prioritize aerodynamics, assume energy recovery would stabilize with software tuning, and stay ahead of the curve. The leak proved that strategy failed. The hybrid system, particularly under FIA's new energy deployment limits and efficiency thresholds, cannot cope with the output demands of the chassis under race load. This has forced a brutal admission inside McLaren's design office: to fix it, they might have to start re-engineering elements they thought were locked 6 months ago. Behind closed doors, there's also growing tension between departments. The hybrid team believes their warnings were ignored. The aero department feels scapegoated. Software engineers are caught in the middle, trying to patch an architecture that may be flawed at its core. This isn't just a technical challenge, it's a political one. And when politics hit an F1 factory, progress slows, morale dips, and top engineers begin considering offers from other teams. Amid all this, McLaren's leadership has tried to maintain composure. Publicly, there's silence. No statements. No interviews. Just controlled messaging. But internally, the pressure is mounting. There are talks of bringing in external consultants, experts who worked on similar hybrid-to-aero integration issues in early Gen 2 Formula E, to advise on damage limitation. That alone is a sign of how seriously the team is taking the threat. McLaren rarely looks outside for fixes. When they do, it's because the in-house tools have reached a breaking point. Still, the biggest concern is time. The 2026 launch window is approaching fast. Teams are expected to begin full physical testing by late summer 2025. McLaren is now weeks behind schedule, maybe more. Every day spent rewriting hybrid maps or revising thermal design is a day lost in simulation, wind tunnel testing, or suspension calibration. In Formula 1, timelines kill as surely as technical failures. And if McLaren can't contain this leak and the fire it started, the fallout could define their entire 2026 campaign before it even begins. The Formula 1 paddock is like a pack of wolves. The moment one team shows weakness, the others pounce, and McLaren's exposed flaw has triggered a quiet but decisive shift in strategy across the grid. At Mercedes, internal meetings were immediately adjusted to reallocate simulation resources. Their technical director, James Allison, reportedly requested side-by-side analysis of their energy deployment versus McLaren's leaked figures. Not for gossip. For targeting. They now know exactly where McLaren might falter, and they're preparing to capitalize. Ferrari, too, wasted no time. Despite having faced their own hybrid headaches in recent seasons, the Scuderia is now accelerating its development of thermal efficiency modules in direct response to the McLaren data. According to reports from Italian outlets, Maranello simulation engineers are using McLaren's flaws as a baseline stress test, modeling Ferrari's own deployment strategies in high-heat scenarios to ensure they don't fall into the same trap. In essence, McLaren's leak has become a blueprint, a what not to do guide that Ferrari intends to exploit. But perhaps the most intriguing response came from Red Bull. Sources close to Milton Keynes suggest that Adrian Newey, despite stepping back from day-to-day operations, has returned to advise on drag-to-efficiency strategies now that McLaren's active aero setup appears compromised. Red Bull had been rumored to be slightly behind McLaren in terms of 2026 aero simulations. Now, with clarity on Woking's weak spot, Red Bull's design team has reportedly shifted toward a more stable, risk-averse integration path, one that could give them early-season reliability while others struggle. Aston Martin, often overlooked, may emerge as the dark horse in this scenario. Their technical alliance with Honda has given them unique insight into hybrid cooling and packaging strategies. With McLaren's issues now public, Aston engineers are doubling down on battery preservation methods, strategies that sacrifice peak output for thermal stability. It's a conservative move, but in a chaotic regulation transition like 2026, conservative often means consistent. And consistency wins races when rivals are stuck in troubleshooting mode. What's striking across the grid is how quickly the leak has changed not just strategies, but team psychology. Where once McLaren was feared as the most complete 2026 challenger with a proven driver lineup, aggressive development pace, and a winning car, it's now being viewed with suspicion. The tone in briefings has changed. Rivals no longer talk about matching McLaren. They talk about beating them while they're vulnerable. In a sport built on margins, that kind of narrative shift matters. In some cases, teams are even revisiting decisions they made months ago. Several suppliers including cooling component manufacturers and MGUK specialists have reportedly seen a spike in requests for late-stage design flexibility. Why? Because now, even teams that thought they had their systems locked are realizing that McLaren's mistake might be easier to repeat than they assumed. The leak didn't just hurt McLaren. It exposed how fragile everyone's 2026 plans really are. Ultimately, what this leak has done is realign the 2026 battlefield before the first launch event. Teams that were hesitant to innovate are now emboldened. Teams that were overcommit to risky concepts are pulling back. And McLaren? They're no longer the reference. They're the cautionary tale. In Formula One, perception is power. And right now, McLaren is bleeding it while their rivals prepare to draw even more.